Hello, everybody. This is Ray Stendall, and I'm joined with Judy Williamson from the Napoleon Hill Foundation. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the Napoleon Hill Ezine video newsletter. So, Judy, we have a wonderful email that was sent in to us by David Hall, and I'd like to share this email with everyone. Basically, David writes to us, "Hello, Ray and Judy. Let me start by saying thank you for the empowering material that's presented each week on the Ezine. I've been receiving these now for over 5 years. I really look forward to them. Regarding the videos, incredible." Well, David, we're happy that you like those videos. That's great. The second statement I want to present is my favorite subjects to talk about, which are adversity and struggle. I've shared many times one of my versions of a quote by Frederick Douglass: "Without struggle, there is no progress." I added, "Without adversity, there is no character." If you really want something, you must go through something. And he also goes on to say here, last, I want to ask if both of you can share a few words about discipline. It's another one of his favorite words. From David Hall, also known as the Peaceful Warrior. David, thank you so much for writing to us. We really appreciate the comments and the feedback, and would love to share some ideas about discipline. Now, Judy, what are some of your thoughts about the topic of discipline?
Oh, it's just getting that Ezine, just getting that note from David made my day that day, and I like what he said, but the remarkable thing was he's been reading these Ezines for 5 years, and that's good, but just think about, I've been writing them for 5 years, so for every week, for 52 weeks a year, we put them out, and so we're sincere in what we have to say, but discipline is a topic that's phenomenal, especially in Napoleon Hill's material, because what he says to us is, unless we follow a program and we are able to discipline ourselves, not discipline others, but discipline ourselves, we're not going to become the ultimate success that we were put here to become. Ray and I were talking this morning about, some of the ideas, the formulas for success, and without discipline, there is no success formula, because you could write the most beautiful list of to-do things for yourself, and if you can't discipline yourself to get them done, then you might as well be writing air. And why don't you tell me a little bit, Ray, about what you think about discipline?
Oh, sure. When I think about discipline, I'm not sure where I picked it up. It must have been at one of the seminars I've attended or from one of the books I've read. But the word discipline to me means the ability to give yourself a command and be able to follow through and execute that command, whatever it might be, whether it has to do with your health, your relationships, your business, or anything in your life. So at the core of anything that you want to accomplish in your life, you have to be able to stick with it, and stick with it consistently over a long enough period of time, and to sometimes do things you really don't feel like doing, but need to get done. And that's where really discipline comes in. And I find that the more you exercise this muscle of discipline, the more disciplined you become, and ultimately the more successful you become in any aspect of your life.
It's absolutely true. And, I had a very good friend who's passed on, and his name was Major Larry Nafee. And at the high school that I was an administrator for, he was the ROTC coordinator. And often I watched him in amazement as he did his morning routine with the kids. And I thought, wow, look at this. They're so disciplined. They're so energetic. And he had one quote that he shared with me that the Marine Corps shared with the recruits. And it's simply a little saying. It says, leader of one, leader of many. If you can't lead one, you can't lead any. And that stuck with me. And he was a tremendous person. And he died all too soon. And we miss him. We miss him in the school that he was affiliated with. And I often think about him, but really what he modeled as far as being disciplined himself has taught me a life lesson. And I know that if he could do it, we all can do it. And but first it comes from within ourselves outward. We don't watch somebody or force somebody to be disciplined. We have to model that discipline ourselves.
No, that's such a great point. I mean, if we cannot lead ourselves, how can we lead others? And discipline is the core. I'd like to also just highlight another point that David mentioned, and he basically mentioned here, without struggle, there is no progress, and without adversity, there is no character. I think there's a lot of truth to that, in the sense that it's when we struggle that we ultimately have to break through our comfort zone and break through the what we do on a day-to-day basis and do something different. And it's through this process of struggle that we can really then celebrate those successes. And it's through the struggle that we build the character. So I think David is right on with this statement. What do you think?
Well, I know from my own background that sometimes I prefer to take a nap, and I say, no nap, you have to write this letter, or you have to do this thing that you're supposed to be doing. But when the day is done and the outcome is there, I'm very glad that I persisted, even though I might have preferred to do something else. I did what I was told inside to do. Mm-hmm. And I like that character is built through struggle idea, and adversity is struggle that leads you to self-fulfillment, I think. Because if you think about it, if we've never had any problems in life, how shallow we would be. We wouldn't have any advice to give. We wouldn't have any information to share. And we really couldn't help anybody improve their life. We'd just be kind of like a wilting violet or something, that was just waiting to pass. Right. But now that we've had some experiences, I think the purpose of the experience is to improve ourselves and also to help other people better their lives. Mm-hmm. Just some thoughts.
Great thoughts. So let's talk a little bit about our topic for today, which is really all about self-confidence. I prepared a couple ideas here that we wanted to share. And Judy, I think, the Ezine in this issue really shares a lot of great information in the formula for self-confidence. And as we were talking about prior to this video, we both came up with 5 important steps that we want to suggest that people consider in terms of how they can build self-confidence. So shall I go through them?
Yes, and I just want to, before you do that, I want to mention that there's a young lady who wrote the guest column for this Ezine, and her name is Amber Carter, and she is a senior at the University of Virginia College at Wise. And if you read her contribution to the Ezine, I think you'll see the steps that Ray is going to talk about now in her speech that she made to the leaders of that school.
All right. Well, let's go through that. And thank you, Amber, so much for contributing to this Ezine. So let's go through the steps. So step number 1 is you have to have a definite, clear statement of where you want to go. Napoleon Hill often referred to it as the definite chief aim statement. So once we have a clear picture of where we want to go, step number 2 to build self-confidence is that you have to emotionalize it. Many times people don't realize how important it is to review and emotionalize that with which we want, so that it really penetrates our conscious mind and gets into our subconscious mind and really helps us be a magnet for what we want in our life. Step number 3 is planning and observable action. Now the key word here was observable action. Now many times we see people who fall in love with a particular book or a favorite movie that happens to be out there, where they talk a lot about visualizing and really thinking about what you want and creating a vision board, and all of that is great. However, that is only part of the equation. Without that observable action, you're not going to go anywhere. And I think that's an important distinction that people need to really understand, that it's not going to come flying from the sky and drop into your lap, whatever it is that you want. You're going to need to move your feet in order to get what you want. Number 4 is the evaluation process. Once you take those actions, being able to evaluate how you did, both positive and negatively, learn from the experience, and particularly for the wins that you experience, don't forget step number 5, and that is to really celebrate those wins, because that helps in giving you tangible proof to your own conscious and subconscious mind that you did a good job, you patted yourself on the back, and that you are indeed capable of doing what you said you were going to do, and now you can move on to bigger and better things as you build more and more self-confidence. So that was what Judy and I came up with. Judy, any thoughts you want to add to that?
I think that's a great formula. And I think if anybody who's listening today follows that formula for any type of a success that they're anticipating in their lives, they'll have it. Because it's really a touchstone. It's an idea whose time has come for everyone. But what Ray has done is he's put it into 5 particular systematic steps that you can take and evaluate on your part to see if you've reached that goal. And undoubtedly, Ray was going to talk about, and if you still have time, to talk about purchasing your first home and how you took those steps. Can you tell us just a little bit about that?
Sure. I'd be happy to. So a few years ago, I was in Silicon Valley and I wanted to purchase my first home. And at the time, I had relatively little money saved up, never purchased a home before in my life. And the overall transaction seemed rather complex and challenging, to say the least. So I basically went through this process. I got very clear on what I wanted to purchase. I reviewed and emotionalized my plan to purchase a home. I envisioned what it would look like and where it would be located and all the different features and functions of this home. I went through the process of planning, and as I went through the process of planning, I was able to get specialized knowledge, which is, again, one of Napoleon Hill's principles, from Laura Perkins. And I know Laura Perkins, I know you're watching these videos since you provide lots of feedback over the years. So Laura Perkins was really instrumental in helping me not only purchase that home, but also sell that home in Silicon Valley. She's really a great real estate agent, and I'm happy to call her my friend. And in working with her, we took observable actions. We went out, we looked at the homes, further emotionalized the whole process, got comfortable with the whole idea. She helped explain the ins and outs of buying a home, and it really wasn't all that complicated once you figured out what you needed to do. And in the end, the home was purchased, and we indeed celebrated the win of getting the home and becoming a proud homeowner of my very first home. So this is a process that I've gone through in buying a home, but I've also gone through the same process in other things in my life. Now, Judy, it's your turn. Why don't you share a little bit about the process of building self-confidence as it relates to some of the books that you've had to write, particularly back in the early days?
Well, I'm not going to go into the detail that you went into, but I know that when I began working on some book publication for the Napoleon Hill Foundation, it was an awesome task, and we took it very seriously, and we had to learn the ins and outs of the whole process. And at that time, I had a wonderful woman who was helping with creating the documents as I was typing them, but she would format them, and she was a person who was not only enthusiastic, but she was a person who, dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's, and everything had to be perfect. So for some of the first books that I wrote, I needed her. But as I gained confidence in doing what I could do myself, I now type my own manuscripts. She moved to Italy. She transitioned, and she's very happy where she's at, but she no longer works for us. But I can now do that process myself. And what took me maybe a year initially to do now takes me maybe 2 months to do. And so I've kind of compressed time because I know the formula. And since I know the formula, I can begin the process without fear and trepidation and say, oh, this is an awful experience. I'm not sure I can do this, just like your home buying experience. But now if someone says, well, can you write a book on this topic? I'd say, yeah, if I really wanted to, yes, I could. So I'm very confident in that. But it's like a recipe, it's like creating that success for yourself. It doesn't matter what it is, whether you're cooking a meal, baking a cake, or, buying a home, writing a book. It's the same formula. You just slot in what it is that you want to accomplish.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, Judy. And I'd like to remind our viewers that we are very happy to receive any comments or questions that you have. So please keep them coming. Send them to ezinequestions@naphill.org, and you'll see that email at the bottom of your screen. Also, please don't forget to share and comment on this video wherever you might be seeing it, and send it to your friends and family and co-workers, because I really think at this time in this world, we really do need these positive messages that are well constructed and proven based on a lot of evidence to work, and will continue to work forever. So if you just apply them. So take these ideas, apply them, share them, and give us some feedback so that we can bring you more worthwhile content that can in turn help you and your business grow.
Thank you, Ray. That was wonderful. And I've enjoyed the addition of having the questions sent to us too, because that gives us a focus, and it also helps us really relate to the people that are watching these videos.
Indeed. All right, Judy, thank you so much, and I'll see you next week.
All right. Thanks, Ray.